some.
Welcome.
I exhausted you.
What?
I couldn't. Like I can't breathe.
Hello? No, I don't know.
Welcome.
Anyway, welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday night Bible Prophecy and Truth.
Yeah. You know, one thing we never do is introduce ourselves.
Oh.
You know, because
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, we have a lot of people that are returning visitors, but if we have new visitors, we never
Like
introduce
how-
ourselves.
like, what do you
I'm
mean?
Dan. I'm the author of Bible Prophecy and Truth. This is my wife, Kelleen. This is our sister in Christ and my wife's blood sister, Diane, joining us on Zoom.
I always feel like it's just the same people that show up, and so I'm like, why? Are you
we have a lot of people that check out the channel. New people on Rumble and on the web. So maybe we'll, if I remember, Sunday to do it again.
There's so many things to remember. I can't remember it all.
So welcome everyone.
Welcome back, everybody. So would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends and family, get it out there, and please turn on the notification bell so you do not miss an upload.
Yeah.
I showed up today. I was tired, and my sister's not.
Your sister's not tired?
I don't think she's as tired as me.
Yeah.
Well, because she's all hopped up on longevity. She takes so many vitamins. I took a little bit
I'm
of
just
extra.
not sleepy.
You're just not sleepy.
No, I'm awake.
Cool. Well, thank you for being here with us. We always appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys too.
She's a little in the dark, but that's
you make our live streams
you get
that much more exciting.
Yes. So would you like to do your spiel?
Okay. Our show for
our show, our ad. Hit it.
Were you?
My goodness. My goodness.
BibleProphecyandTruth.com. Pretty interesting. I can get a hold of Dan and ask my questions too, even though I ask really stupid questions sometimes. He'll answer them. I just go to prophecyandtruth@gmail.com. Oh,
and there's no stupid question.
Site. No. YouTube.com/prophecyandtruth. I can watch some cool videos, and I can even watch the live streams from there too. Or I could even go to rumble.com/Bible Prophecy. Oh, what? He has a new one? It's called prophecyandtruth.com. Oh, now you can go down.
I knew you were doing better because you actually remembered that.
Well, thank you, Diane.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. We have lots of different channels and
we just keep adding them.
Different social media and video sites and we do everything we can to reach the world, and that's what we're here for. That's what we're all about. So today I'm going to talk about some of the current news, how it relates to biblical prophecy, and then we're going to talk about the prophecy in the present times on the chapter 7 on my website. And it's very interesting, and it's very cool because when we talk about prophecy, talked about modern nations in the world, the 7 seals, 4 horsemen, and all that, and we have to speculate when it comes to those things. But when we talk about Daniel chapter 2 and we talk about prophecy and today, but we don't have to speculate on that particular prophecy because it's already history. So we'll talk about that later.
I'm just so
We can see
I'll try to pep
we can
up.
see the light from your phone reflecting on your face because it's dark.
But you can see me better.
She looks like she's part of like she's getting ready to tell a spooky story or
Yeah,
something
because
like
you
that.
got the light coming up from under
I
you.
know. That's funny.
So
Oh yeah, this is interesting. You got to hear this.
yeah, this is just an article I saw, and it's like, why are they suddenly killing or attempting to kill all these world leaders?
I know.
Why are people, leaving office voluntarily? Why is there so much change going on? As we had
leaders.
a lot of people don't know there was an assassination attempt against the Saudi crown prince on the 7th. The Turkish President Erdogan was warned of a military coup and had an emergency meeting on that to thwart it. There was an assassination attempt on the Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico. Most people know about that. Citizen arrested for threatening to assassinate the Serbian president. I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Vucic.
Vucic. Yeah. The Saudi King Salman was hospitalized for the second time in 4 weeks. There was a helicopter crash, everybody knows, involving the President Raisi of Iran and the foreign minister. Both of them were killed in that crash. So it's like someone working on rearranging the world leadership.
I know it's kind of.
It kind of seems like
sounds
that.
It sounds kind of what do you call it? Like conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
stuff.
it kind of does. But here's what I think. I think maybe God took care of Raisi.
Oh, be careful.
Because in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. That's in Zechariah 12, talking about the last days. And then in Genesis 12, I will bless those who bless you and bless him, and him who dishonors you I will curse. This was God speaking to Abraham concerning the promise and his seed and the coming of Israel. And these are very point blank prophecies and statements of God. I'm going to make Jerusalem a burdensome stone, which today everything kind of revolves around Israel. Israel doesn't rule the world. Israel is just a tiny little nation, but it's like the whole world is so caught up in what's going on in Israel.
They're obsessed.
And it's because that's where God chose to put his name.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it's going to be a burdensome stone. And those that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. Maybe that was just God taking care of him. I don't know. I think he was probably, it might have just been an accident.
Or it might have just been misty out.
Might have been just what?
Misty. They're saying that it was the weather was really bad.
It was foggy.
Foggy and misty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it could have just been an accident. Who knows?
Have you guys heard things about different airplanes just starting?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
engines catching on fire, pieces falling off of them.
Oh, yeah.
There was
weird.
Boeing.
Yeah, there's all kinds of, And a lot of Boeing jets are not being maintained properly, apparently.
Yeah.
And it's like I was saying Sunday, this DEI stuff, they're hiring people based on their skin color instead of the ability to do the job. So it's no wonder there's a lot of failures in things, because there's people doing jobs they have no place being, and they can't do the job. And so things aren't getting done right. What do you expect, right? Do you expect everything to just keep clicking along, perfectly? No.
Hi, Jay.
Hey, Jay, welcome, brother.
I'm in a meeting. Be here shortly.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for checking in, brother.
Yes, thanks for checking.
So, who knows? We do know that Jerusalem will never be destroyed because God chose to put his name in Jerusalem.
Mhm.
And we know that when the Antichrist brings the nations of the world down to wipe out Israel, which is their goal, that's when Jesus finishes his descent after the pouring of his wrath and says, no, you're not going to.
Yeah.
And speaks a word in wiping out the army.
Yeah.
But then, who's going to be the next butcher of Tehran, because that's who Racy was, right? That's what he's been called for years,
You
the butcher of Tehran.
You butcher names. That's what you butcher.
I butcher names. He butchers people, or
Yeah.
did anyway. But the next guy, Machber, he was included in a list of people sanctioned by the European Union for nuclear ballistic missile activities. So what do you think he's going to do?
Nuke everybody.
He's going to work on getting that nuke that Iran has wanted for years. Just doing everything they can.
Yeah.
And then, we've heard about Hamas stealing aid from the Gaza civilians. Well, lo and behold, the UN's doing it too. Now, why would the UN be stealing aid from the Gazan civilians? It's like, what? Are they in cahoots with Hamas? Well, UNRWA, we found out, was definitely in cahoots with them. It's not really surprising that they're also stealing aid. So, and the whole point is so they can say that Israel is starving them. It's genocide, even though they're the ones stealing the aid. And they're pointing their fingers. It's just, and I think they think they're getting away with it. I mean, they keep saying it as if everybody just believes their lies. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then the UN honored the butcher of Tehran, whatever you want to call it. The UN honored a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Like he's such a great guy. Biden gave his condolences. Now, since when do we give condolences to a mass murderer?
Well, he did do the eulogy of a KKK member. Nobody seems to remember that. His name was John something or other. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, it's just
So
the world has gone insane, hasn't it? It's literally.
It's just backwards.
It's delusion. Yeah. The grand delusion. Anyway. And then, he never stood by us. The Gazan civilians are celebrating the death of Racy. Same with the Iranians. I saw multiple articles of the Iranians themselves are celebrating the death of their president because he was no friend of the people. He killed many Iranians. He's a mass murderer. And it's because they're so bent on Jew hatred. The leaders of Islamic countries are so bent on Jew hatred that they use their own people and put them up as sacrifices in the name of hating the Jews and their evil God, Allah.
Can you imagine being so filled with hate?
Yeah, they're willing to sacrifice their own people just to perpetuate that hatred. It's really.
It's just a lot.
If you don't think this is from Satan, then who do you think it is from? Where do you think it's coming from? I mean, yes, men are evil. They don't need Satan to be evil, but this is a grand, massive work of Satan himself.
This is evil on steroids.
Yeah. This whole Jew hatred thing is it's because Satan hates the Jews. So he's got almost 2 billion people and Islam today that hate the Jews because it's a religion of hatred, a religion of Jew hatred specifically, and Christians. Don't forget they hate Christians too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because Satan hates the Jews, even though rabbinic Jews admired in Judaism are not God's people. They're, as Jesus said, they're children of Satan spiritually because they don't believe in him. And it's only the Messianic Jews. We have to remember that are actually truly God's people, and Christians are grafted into that tree of believing Jews. That's the true Israel today. But Satan hates Jews just because God made a people from Abraham and his seed. Yeah. And then the IDF warns that Hezbollah could overrun northern Israel, which Hezbollah is a lot stronger than Hamas, much bigger, more organized. They come through Syria and Lebanon in the north.
Yeah,
and the Hamas war, the Hamas war is really kind of child's play compared to the war that will come from this. We have to remember they're all the same people. Hamas and Hezbollah are just Muslims. They all hate Jews. They're taught to hate Jews from the time they're little children. And Iran is backing them with the billions of dollars that they get from the United States and other countries. It's insane how we feed money to our enemies. It's crazy.
I think that's because
the world is crazy.
Hamas is like a gang, and Hezbollah is like a military
It's more of a
group.
organized military.
Yeah,
That's true. So, and then if nobody's heard about this, I'm here to tell you that guess who is stepping down? Klaus Schwab.
Really?
Is going to step down. But guess what?
Who's taking
Everybody's
his place?
arguing about who's going to be the next person.
His son.
Well, his daughter and his son and his wife are all very involved in the WEF. In fact,
That's worse.
They have veto powers in the WEF. So it's not going anywhere. And he's not actually retiring. He's stepping down from the absolute lead to a kind of a consulting position. If you read articles about him, or listen to him talk, I mean, he's got a God complex. He really thinks that he is the smartest man that ever lived.
Even over Soros, huh? He's not competing with Soros?
He thinks he is it. He thinks he knows better than anyone.
You know, the offspring of these evil people are worse.
Their children.
Look at Alex Soros.
I know, and I'm sure I don't really know anything about.
And he's evil.
I know. I've heard a lot about that. I don't really know anything about Schwab's daughter or son or his wife, but I'm sure it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Macron.
The Muslims plot a coordinated jihad massacre in different places across the country in France.
Whoa.
Again, France has fallen.
Yeah.
You know, the UK has fallen, France has fallen, Germany's right behind. The other European nations are right behind.
It's really sad.
It is. It's very sad.
I never had a chance to go.
To
Europe.
The Western civilization is going down, big time.
Yeah.
And remember, it's all for the new people. I kind of gloss over a lot of stuff, and I just talk about the news, expecting that everyone knows what I'm talking about. Why is all this relevant to Bible prophecy?
Yeah.
Well, it's because Satan has a coordinated attack on the Western world to bring us to our knees. Mm-hmm. He's trying to bring the world powers down, especially the United States and Europe. He's trying to reduce the power of those nations to destroy us.
Mm-hmm.
Because how can he bring out his Antichrist and take over the world when there's such powerful opposition? He's got to bring the West to its knees before he can do anything. And then this particular article, one of them was a new convert. And you hear so much about, Islam is such a wonderful, peaceful religion, but then why do all these new converts to Islam think that they need to be violent? Why do they think they need to kill if it's such a wonderful, peaceful religion? There's converts all over the world are responsible for massive attacks and deaths. How is this possible if it's such a wonderful, loving religion? But we talked about that too. It's a religion of hatred, and it is a religion of violence. Islam does not coexist. No. They never have, and they never will. You either convert to Islam, or they'll kill you, or they'll take you as slaves, or you can pay them the jizya. You can basically pay them to let you live, basically as a slave under their feet. That's the only way to coexist with Islam. And this whole idea of interfaithism is one-sided, completely one-sided. Islam does not believe in interfaithism. They're only going along with interfaith dialogue because it helps to assist in the ascendancy of Islam, which is all they care about. And then in Nigeria, an Islamic group says the local emir sent them to disband a center where Christians and Muslims worship together. That's because interfaith is one-sided. Muslims don't believe in interfaith. Muslims don't want to worship side by side with Christians. They hate Christians. They want to kill all Christians. Just like they want to kill all the Jews, they want to kill the Christians equally. Because, you might ask why? Well, because Satan set up Islam to be a religion that's against God.
Do you think it's because, didn't it start from Ishmael?
They say that Ishmael was the
descendant.
They say they're descended from Ishmael, and
they say that.
Yes.
Well, then maybe that's where that bitterness started, because of Ishmael being so jealous over Isaac.
Yeah.
And maybe it just kind of festered, like when Hagar left. It just festered and festered, and it just snowballed, Yeah.
Well, true.
Because I'm like, where did this hatred
say
come from?
That there's no real proof of it, but they say that they're descendants of Ishmael. They're also descendants of the Moabites, the sons of Lot. They're descendants of both of his sons.
Well, that was kind of cursed. Those children
because of his
Lot.
daughters basically raping him, getting him drunk and raping him. But the Arabs that exist today probably did come from, at least have some of that blood in them. Yes.
It just kind of snowballed down,
Yeah.
I don't know, because I wonder about that. Like, why are
as
they
well as Esau, some of his descendants. Yeah.
Esau. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, those people were so angry and jealous and hateful, and it kind of makes sense that it could be a possibility.
They birthed a very hateful people.
Yeah, it could, because you know how like racism, like in the South, it just got passed down in generations, and everybody would. I mean, even little kids were told not to play with the little black children and stuff. And it just snowballed over the generations of generations. It was kind of passed down. I mean, really, in the South, it was really bad.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering where all that hate came from.
Well, it's it doesn't take a devil to make men hateful, because men are very prideful
Yeah.
and selfish and evil. It takes self-discipline. It really takes God really to make us good, but it takes a lot of reprogramming as you become an adult to learn not to be so selfish, and learn that other people are just as important as you are. And
Yeah.
that's, as an adult, we should understand these things. It's sad that most adults today don't even get that, but that's, that I don't see people, I don't see skin color, I just see people, I see lost souls.
Right.
Lost
You know,
souls, yeah.
there is no such thing as a different race, really. We're all human beings. We're all descendants of Adam and Eve.
Yeah,
We
we
all
are.
have the same genes in us.
Mhm.
In fact, when we go through the creation versus evolution study, we look into that, where the gene pool is 99.9% alike in
Yeah, it
all
is.
races.
Right.
And
It
you
is.
can have a white person from Scotland and a black person from Africa,
They have the
and you can
same.
have their family's DNA tested, and you can have a more similar DNA comparison between the Scottish person and the African than some of the family members in each side, because the gene pool is very diverse, and you can have very diverse genes within the same family.
Yeah.
And it's the same across the world. We're just people, we're human beings. All of this racism is just hatred and pride, and
Yeah.
it's
I
not
like
of
it.
God.
Yeah. Hey, American. He
Hey,
said,
American,
"Let's
welcome.
go."
We're on it, man.
We're on it, man. At least we know he's a man now.
Yeah.
Bruh.
So then we can call you dude, and we
Dude.
know that we're saying it correctly. Bruh. so
Bro.
so it's so important to understand this. I mean, a lot of people are so deceived by all the propaganda that's out there. I mean, our own news agencies are trying to convince us that the people that want to kill us are really our friends. It's like,
Yes.
what? Why are you doing this?
They're
Are
not
they
our
paying
friends.
you enough?
Mhm.
To lie to us in that way? It's just insane.
You know what I think is insane? When they actually try to convince people that the ones that actually want to keep freedom in the country are bad.
I know.
The ones that love
Yeah.
America
Yeah.
are bad.
Well, where does
Yeah.
it say in the Bible? I can't remember the exact quote, but it says in the Bible that the day will come where they'll call evil good
And good evil.
and good evil.
Yes. Oh,
And we're there.
We're getting there. We are there.
We're there.
We are definitely
We're
there.
definitely
Here, let's look it up, because that's it. Yeah.
Even if you're not talking about people who are physically starting a war with somebody, just the tension that you feel in the air, people are just angry.
They're angry and hateful. Yeah,
Yes.
I know. There's just so much division.
There's
Mhm.
too many
I
places.
remember after 9/11, we were so unified as a country. Remember that?
And now you've got people saying Bin Laden did what he needed to do.
Yeah, after we were so unified.
Oh, I
I
can't
know.
believe we see that.
So here's the scripture: woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Yeah.
American. Oh, Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against
principalities,
against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world.
Yes.
Against spiritual wickedness in
high places.
Amen.
Amen. That's the war we're fighting right now, brother. That is the war we are currently enmeshed in. The world is embroiled in a massive battle going on right now,
Oh yeah.
all around us. And most people are oblivious.
Yeah. They
And
don't
this is
notice anything.
Huh?
They don't notice anything.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, they know something's going on, but they don't know what.
But there are a lot of people with their heads in the clouds. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Or somewhere else. Yeah.
Up-
um,
I can't believe it.
Oh,
They got their
okay.
heads somewhere else.
I can't believe I almost said that.
In the
And
sky.
I was like, I know Sachiko.
We're live.
Sachiko.
We can't say stuff like that.
Sachiko was like, she's going to be like, Kel, don't say it. Just do not say it.
Yeah, well, they got their heads somewhere. Yeah.
Some-
So we talk about this all the time. There's just more and more and more articles and more scientific evidence that proves this whole farce, this climate model, is a joke. There's false data, there's made up data. It's all, this article is talking about how they're using this to take farmers' land
yeah.
because they want to starve us to death so that they can force us to eat their crickets and their fake meat and all that and control us. Because if they can control our food supply, they can control us absolutely. This is why they're doing all of these things, to grab control. They want to have absolute power.
Mhm.
That's where they're headed, and that's where they're going. They're going to achieve it.
Yeah.
Except remember, all of these people, that the ones at the very top of the secret society, the ones that are actual Luciferians, that are actually worshiping the devil that they call God, that they believe is the true God. He's promising them this utopia, this whole new era of mankind, this transcendence that is a lie from Satan. Then he's promising them this, and so they're all working towards this goal of creating this absolute control so they can take over and be the rulers of this new utopia. But remember what Satan's going to do. Satan is not going to give them what he's promised them. Remember that Satan hates them. Their God hates them, but their God has them absolutely, utterly deceived, completely deceived.
Yeah.
And they think they're going to get what he's promising them, but he's going to stab them in the back, and he's going to trot out his Antichrist, and he's going to take over the world as a dictator. And he'll give the ones crumbs that he feels like, the ones that are most loyal, I'm sure. It says in Daniel 11 that, he'll work deceitfully. The Antichrist will work deceitfully and will
need any of those people. He doesn't need any of those people. He can run the world all by himself.
right?
Yeah.
He's using them
He's
to
using
get
it.
to the place where he can take over, and then he's going to stab him in the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's such a farce. I have to show you, because this is one of the reasons they're doing it. It's to establish control. And then just a reminder of what Islam is all about. This is in India. Muslims are abducting and forcibly converting Hindu women. This is in India. It's almost like it is in Nigeria. Nigeria is like half and half. In the south, it's Christian. In the north, it's Muslim. And the Muslims are constantly attacking and slaughtering Christians, migrating, moving southward. In India, it's very similar. There's a lot of Muslims in India.
Oh, I didn't, yeah.
And they're becoming more and more and more forceful in India, this is an example of it, where they're kidnapping. Because remember, Islam promotes and believes in and loves slavery.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're someone that doesn't believe in slavery, then you can't like Islam, because Islam kidnaps people and makes them slaves.
Yeah, don't we have a lot of hostages still in
Yeah,
Gaza?
they still do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is just normal for Islam. This is what they've always done. They always have done this.
American said, I
Oh.
didn't know China had such an Islamic impression on its past. He didn't realize
So-
that China had a
all right.
lot of Islam.
In its past.
Yeah.
Huh.
In its past.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I mean,
He's
I know
just saying
that,
he didn't know that China is one of the countries that has a lot of Islam.
well, China's actually trying to purge all of the Muslims.
Oh.
They'll kill them. They will stop any
Why?
kind of gatherings because, well, they're communist, and they don't want Islam to rise and become powerful. They
Oh,
know how
so they
Islam
don't like 'em.
operates. They don't want them to get too
Don't
powerful.
make me stick up for China now.
No, we'll be doing that.
Yeah.
So reminder of that. A couple of things about, I don't know if you know this, but Red Lobster has filed bankruptcy. It's only Chapter 11, but
Not the one in
This is-
Daytona.
well, they're closing a lot of stores.
Not the one in
There.
Daytona. That one's still open. They
Well,
put it on
right.
Facebook today. that
Chapter
there's-
11 doesn't mean going out of business. Chapter
Oh.
11 means they're going to
Yeah.
dissolve a lot of this debt
Oh.
that they have
Okay.
and make the government pay for it, basically, and us pay for it.
Okay.
But they're going to stay in business. They're going to redo stuff. They're going to close stores and all that. But
Oh.
it's just a sign
Mm.
of our, if you talk to Joe Biden, we have a booming economy. And this is just one of the signs of our booming economy, right?
I hear him say that. It's like, what planet are you on?
He knows what's going on. He's just
He's just a liar, and he doesn't
just
care
needs
that
enough
we know he's
Buy
lying.
groceries.
he
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
doesn't have to worry about
He doesn't.
groceries.
He doesn't know that
He
it
doesn't
costs 3
care
times
about the American people.
that it did for
He doesn't
groceries.
care.
He doesn't care. Yeah.
He's in it for himself and his family.
Yeah.
Barely.
And then this was an interesting article that the CCP using the global climate agenda to damage America.
Yeah.
They're pushing this, even though they know it's a farce,
Mm-hmm.
but they know how damaging this agenda is, the green agenda. They know how damaging it is to the United States. So they're all for it. They're pushing it. Yeah. What better way to help us destroy ourselves, right? And then Peter McCullough, if you don't know who he is a very outspoken, one of the first whistleblowers back in the last 4 years for the stuff that happened that I can't talk about, or YouTube will get mad at me. But you know what I mean. If you've never heard of Peter McCullough, look him up, because he's a very outspoken doctor about what they were doing.
The guy on the left or the guy on the right?
He's the guy on the right.
The one in blue.
The one in blue, yes. So, and he's talking about this, and I brought this up over the last week or so, this whole bird flu, fear mongering that they're doing, trying to get us. They've already got a vaccine for the bird flu for us to take. It's not even it's not even something we need to worry about at this point. They're manufacturing this crisis, and they're doing it on purpose. They want to create a food shortage. They want to starve us into submission.
Is it true though the mortality rate is really high?
Well, the H5N1 has a high mortality rate, yes.
But is that the same as bird flu?
I believe so, or it's a strain of the bird flu. Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody knows anything about that, please put it in the chat.
Yeah. But they're manufacturing this artificial crisis because there is no crisis,
Yeah,
and they're trying to blow it up into one.
but the Bible said pestilences.
Yeah, one of the signs that would herald the coming of the return of the Lord is pestilences. And so, man, wow, do we have any pestilences?
And earthquakes.
Man,
Don't forget the earthquakes.
yeah. And then, oh my gosh, I saw this. I watched the video, and it's like Microsoft has this new recall app that they have that's I don't know if it's already in our Windows operating system or not, but it's this recall app that basically takes screenshots of everything, constantly taking screenshots of your computer.
Mine, because I don't have a camera on mine.
Screenshots. It's taking a screenshot of everything you're doing on your screen constantly.
Then they just call me picking my nose.
But then and what they're doing it for, and what this lady shows in this interview, is that she searched for brown leather bag, and it actually found where she had shopped for a brown leather bag, even though the words brown leather bag were never used. There was a picture of a brown leather bag, and it found it. Yeah. Because it's taken screenshot, and they're calling it, Microsoft's calling it recall, so that it can help us better search and things like that.
Well, I know that is happening for a fact on mine, because I will look
online
for something, and all of a sudden it just
you
appears in Facebook. And
all the ads you see are suddenly about the thing you just.
Hey, Seven Catman.
Hey, welcome.
Per Yale Medicine, 50% mortality rate for the bird flu.
For H5N1.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
Very high mortality rate. Yeah.
Yeah, 70%. Wow.
So, but it is not a rampant crisis right now. It really isn't.
Hey, Sheila.
Yeah. Hey, Sheila, welcome, sister.
We're so happy you're here, Sheila.
Yeah.
We missed you when you were in Francais.
Francais? Yeah. So my question here is, Microsoft's announcing this is such a wonderful thing, but it's like, do we trust Microsoft? Do we really believe that all the screenshots is only going to be stored locally, and Microsoft will never use that data for anything else?
No, I know.
Are we that
What
dumb?
do they have it for? If you're not going to have it for evil, what do you have it for?
Well,
right.
They're promoting it as it's for you, to help you search for
help
stuff
me. Well, I don't need any help
keep
searching.
track of everything you do, so that you can. Yeah.
I just do.
No, they're keeping track of everything we do.
So how can we see the screenshots that they're taking?
Well, you can do what I'm doing, and I'm starting to use Linux a whole lot more than I do Windows. Because there's probably not going to be any way to stop any of this from happening except to, switch to Linux or something. Because
you said that they're saying that it's for us, but what are the benefits for us?
Well, just to help,
so you can
search
and find everything that you did before.
So it's like cookies. Yeah. So it's like cookies. The last.
Well, in a way, yeah, yeah. So and then search algorithms, stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a make believe this is for you thing, when it's really for them to collect data. Yeah, Microsoft tries to keep a real low profile when it comes to the big tech and all of their censoring and their data collecting. Microsoft tries to keep a real low profile, as if they're not collecting any data on us. No. And are we really that dumb to think that Bill Gates's company is not spying on us?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And then another one from Dr. Peter McCullough, talking about how when he was a kid, and I've read numerous articles on this before. In the past, I've read a lot. I've seen videos where autism was rare, very rare.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 36. And he talks about why he thinks that is.
Because of the things.
The
Jabs.
things that they
jabs.
They inject into children. Yeah. Yeah, those things. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot more kids with allergies too.
Yeah. There's all kinds of, and
Oh,
think of all
kinds of things.
remember we talked about the mental disorders of people today. 30% have some mental disorder. You know, it's so bad now. And it's because of the poisons that they've been feeding us for decades now.
Mm-hmm.
And the shots that they give us saying it's good for us, all of that. Yeah. If you didn't hear about this, there was an airplane flying from London to Singapore that suddenly had I saw
turbulence.
I saw another article. I can't remember where. It's not on this one, but they were flying at like 36,000 feet, and then all of a sudden they dropped like 6,000 feet.
Yeah.
In like over a couple of minutes.
Little old man.
And somebody died. There were dozens of people injured, some very seriously injured.
Yeah, a man died. A little old man died of a heart attack.
And the reason I bring this up is not because this is a solitary occurrence. Stuff like this has happened before, but these are the things that are continuing to get worse and worse and worse. We can expect more and more and more of these things as there's different the signs in the heaven that Jesus said would cause men's hearts to fail them for fear and things like that. You know, all that would herald his coming. You know, this is part of it, where it's our atmosphere. We're having storms, much more heavier storms than we used to.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the earthquakes, just like, you know, all the pestilences, everything that he said would herald his coming are happening right now.
We're seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we talked about this briefly, you know, that racism is just, we're all human beings. We all came from Adam and Eve. We all have the same genes. We're 99.9% alike across all races of humans, where there is no different race of humans. We're all the human race. And this idea of racism is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then RFK Jr., you know, he wants to give black farmers $5 billion in reparations, you know. And I think to myself, why is everyone okay with slavery in Islam? Why is everyone okay with slavery in Islam when we're all upset about this, you know, when we're supposed to give reparations for people that were never slaves just because their ancestors were? Well,
but then that's what Islam does.
They have slaves today. And
they're always taking hostages.
And you know what I always say about this reparations thing? I was born in Michigan. My family is from up north.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my ancestors were from the Union armies that fought to free the slaves. My ancestors died to free the slaves. What about reparations for me?
Yeah.
That's about how stupid that is, right? No, I'm not saying I want reparations. I'm just saying that's about as dumb as them asking for reparations for people they never even knew.
Mm-hmm.
Just
of course,
because
our ancestors were actually, our American ancestors were actually, during the slave times, I don't even think my family was here. Were they?
Well,
Scotland and Ireland.
Oh yeah, they were.
And all you have to do is look
Europe.
back. All you have to do is look back in time to see that white people were slaves back years ago. You know, it's not just black people being slaves.
Well, we're European.
Everybody has been enslaved at some point or another.
I don't want to get blamed
know.
for nothing when all my people were in France and Scotland and Ireland. I didn't do
So
nothing.
it was not your fault. Yeah.
So it's not my fault.
But I'm just saying, what it is it's just plain dumb.
Yeah,
It's just plain dumb is
yeah,
what it
Sheila
is.
says it's true. Yeah, I know.
So anyway, moving on.
When I see Sheila's name, it makes me think about when Andy was a little baby boy. He was little, like a year old, and he used to call our neighbor Sheila Dida.
Dita.
Dida. He'd say Dida. And her name was Sheila. It was cute. Sorry.
Well, I hope you
Carry on.
I hope you find that endearing.
Yeah. Carry on. Sorry.
So I don't know
all over the
if
place.
we've talked about this before. This is a new article. Biden's releasing $1 million to try to keep the prices down.
They're not down.
Well, to keep them from going up even
Over
more.
$4.
But we have to remember he's been doing this all along.
Yeah. Oh yes, he is.
He is
He's depleting.
He is depleting our reserves. If we were to actually go to war right now, we wouldn't have enough gas to power our equipment very long.
No.
Because he's depleting our reserves, our national reserves.
Yeah.
And here he's releasing another 1 million barrels
Yeah.
to try to keep the price of gas from going up for his election.
Yeah, he's doing that just because
Oh,
we're
my
6 months
gosh.
out. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, and then yeah. So 3 European countries are going to recognize a
Yes.
Palestinian
I saw
state:
that.
Ireland,
Saw
Norway,
that.
and Spain.
There's all the countries getting on
And
board.
so, look for the peace treaty, the two-state solution that I've been talking about for months now,
Mhm.
where it's going to be as what Jesus said in Luke chapter 21 was, when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, know that the desolation is nigh. I think that means there's going to be UN forces going in,
Yeah.
forcing the peace when they sign this peace treaty, which is the confirmation of the covenant in the Bible, and create a two-state solution. Because remember,
Oh.
Palestine does not
I
exist.
know.
There is no
Right.
state of Palestine. There's no Palestinian people. It's made up. The name Palestine was just a region that was actually created by the Roman emperor at the time to spite Israel, and using the Philistines to create this new name for the region and call it Palestine. It was just a region of the world, which after World War I, they allocated it to the area for Jews to return to their homeland. And then after World War II, Israel became a state once again. And the Jews started clamoring to go home. And just,
Yeah.
in droves. And that's why Israel was reborn. Ezekiel 37 has come to pass. The dry bones have come together, exactly as God said.
Yeah.
And this is just leading towards that peace treaty, which a peace treaty, when they decide that Israel has a right to exist, which will be part of the peace treaty, and draws the borders of Israel, that will be what the Bible calls the confirmation of the covenant. And the Antichrist will be one of many who signs that
know.
peace treaty. And that will begin the final 7 years as
Oh.
prophesied in the Bible. Yeah, it's really cool.
Mhm.
So then Hamas gaining control of Samaria. If you don't know what that is, Judea and Samaria are the West Bank today.
Yes.
The area of Israel called the West Bank
That's really bad.
was Judea and Samaria in the time of Christ. And that's where Jesus said, when the Antichrist takes over, if you're in the area of Judea, just run. Don't even get a change of clothing, he said.
Oh.
Just run. So it makes sense. if you know about the West Bank, it's a very heavy hotbed of conflict
Yeah.
because there's Jews and Muslims living side by side there.
Oh,
And there's a lot of empty space, and Jews are moving into the empty space, and the Muslims are upset about it. But it's just all part of what's going on and part of what's coming in prophecy. We
run
know
where?
that the prophecies of the Bible are going to come to pass.
American said, "Run where?"
Oh, run! Just
Hills.
what Jesus said.
Oh, yes, good question.
Jesus said, "Don't even go into your house to get a change of clothes. Flee."
Surrounded.
He basically
Yeah.
says he's
Get
telling
out.
them to run as far and as fast as they can.
Get out wherever
Oh,
you can go.
That's
I
what he's
guess.
saying. Yeah.
It's true. Hey,
Yeah.
how did that happen?
So and because when the Antichrist claims to be God, takes over the world, stops the animal sacrifices
Yeah.
from being performed that they're going to resume, he's going to tell all the Muslims in the West Bank to just kill all the Jews there, I'm sure. And I'm sure that's what Jesus was referring to.
It's better, I guess,
he
to
said
just
this.
sit there. But true. I mean, where would you go if you were
Well,
a Jew living there?
Basically, if you don't leave, you're going to die. So
Yes,
you
who
know.
cares where you go? Just
Yeah,
get
go
out
somewhere.
Run.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ew.
And then remember, we talked about this stupidity of this pier that
Yeah.
they created. Well, a huge percent of the aid sent to the pier was stolen, and they can't even account for it. They don't know what happened to it. I told you how stupid it is. Hamas
Just to
is
look at
stealing it. The UN is stealing it. They don't
Yeah.
want the Gazans to have any
What
aid.
is it,
They want
food?
to starve them to death so that they can blame Israel. That's all they care about. They'll kill the UN and Islam together they want to perform genocide on people so that they can blame Israel for it. They're going to do the genocide, but then they're going to blame Israel.
Yeah.
How monstrous and vile and horrible are these people?
American said, I feel like that prophecy was fulfilled when Rome sacked Jerusalem. About running?
So that's partial preterism.
Oh.
If you don't believe that all of the prophecies happened in 70 AD, that's full preterism. If you believe all the prophecies had come to pass, and Luke 21 is a parallel of Matthew 24 and Mark 13. It is talking about the same thing, same time period. It's definitely part of the end time prophecies. And I think you've been around long enough, American. I don't know if you've seen if you saw we did a live stream, I believe, and then I have videos that I've produced on why it's impossible that the beliefs of preterism are actually impossible. If you have not seen that, then I'm going to show you on Rumble, right? Let me show you on Rumble. If you go to the videos list, there's one where it has a sign, past, present, future, right here. It's on page 2 of my videos, on the videos tab. I also did a live stream on it a little while ago, but if you were to watch this video, you'd see what I'm saying. Or I've got a list of 15 things that make it absolutely impossible for preterism to be true. I also have it on an article on my website under notes, the newsletters archive, and on the newsletters list. If you search for preterism, you'll see this article on preterism and post-millennialism, because some people even think that we're past the 1,000-year reign of Christ. But this article also has a link to, it has this video embedded. It has a link to the 15 questions on this, in that video. And it also goes through a lot of information about what they say is true and what the Bible says, and comparing those. If you haven't seen those, if you haven't seen the video, if you haven't seen that document, then please do check it out.
He said, I'll check it out. Thanks.
All right. And you know, send me a message if you want to talk about it. I'd love to.
Oh, yes.
I'd love to. But and there's a lot of people that believe in partial preterism, where some of those things have come to pass. None of that's true. That none of those things have come to pass. The only thing that came to pass was the destruction of the temple. But if you read Matthew 24 and Mark 13, and you read where Jesus was asked, he was leaving the temple, and the disciple said, you know, look at all of these wonderful buildings. Aren't they grand? You know, talking them up. And he said, and he answered them saying, you know, this is all going to be destroyed. There's not going to be one stone left upon another.
Mm-hmm.
That was the end of that conversation, because then it was later over on the Mount of Olives that they took him aside and asked him privately, because that was in public. That was at the temple. They took him aside and asked him privately, what's going to be the sign of the end of the world and your coming? And that's when he answered that question. It's a completely different conversation than the destruction of the temple. And I know a lot of people like to, you know, wrap all that together. But if you go read Matthew 24 and Mark 13, you'll see that there's a period of time in between those two questions, or those two statements, the statement basically, and then the question that they asked and his answer. And it's not the same conversation. It would have taken at least a few minutes for them to walk across the Kidron Valley over to the Mount of Olives from the Temple Mount. And it even says that they asked him privately on the Mount of Olives, what's going to be the sign of the end of the world? And that's when he answers that question and gives all the dialogue of the things that will herald his coming. So anyway, I hope you do study it out, and please do ping me if you want to talk about it. I'd love to.
He already has Jay and David and everybody else.
Yeah. So, and then more on this, right? We've talked about this almost every time we do a live. There's some new article about how, you know, these protests are staged. That most of these Hamas supporting protests and the colleges, most of the people there are not even college kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much staged, just like all the protests in the last decade. I mean, we're talking about the one percenters, the Occupy Wall Street, the BLMs, the Antifas, all of these protests are all put on by the same people. All of them are.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, Marxist organizations. They all want to turn the country communist, because what are they expecting? They're expecting this utopia where it's a communist utopia, where they're the ones, they're the elites at the top that are being supported by all the you know, the sheep that do all the farming and all the work to help them live their glamorous life, which is basically what communism is. You know, it's the people at the top are supported by the workers, and you basically do what they tell you to. I mean, that's communism kind of in a nutshell. And that's what they want. Anyway, so that's the news. I didn't have that much today.
Wow.
So we actually have a
own
few
talking.
minutes.
We were actually talking to him.
We have a few minutes to talk about chapter 7 on my website, which it's a very long article, but I'm going to talk about the main point of the article and then encourage you to look at the rest of it. So it's BibleProphecyandTruth.com under Biblical Prophecy, chapter 7, Prophecy and the Present Times. And the main thing that I talk about in this article is the Daniel 2 prophecy, because Daniel 2, just like I always say, speculation is not equal to knowledge. There's a lot of things that we know, but then there's things that we can only speculate about at this point in time. And so I try to be very clear about what we can know and what we can only speculate on.
Right.
And then I have this article. It's on the home page. If you look for this picture, you can click on it, and it actually goes to a page where I have all the things, not all, but a lot of the things that we know for sure, for fact, in biblical prophecy and prophetic and biblical knowledge as well. Not just prophecy, but biblical knowledge, but a lot about prophecy. There's things that we know for sure. And I've got a whole list, and then articles for every single one in the list that you can study. And then at the bottom, I have lists of things that we don't know for sure, with things that are speculative. Like, we can't know the identity of the four beasts from Daniel 7. We can speculate on what we think it is because of the world, and we can look at the world, the pictures God painted, and put it together. And it seems so clear now, but I still can't tell you that I know for sure that it's Russia, Germany, and Great Britain, and Islam, the fourth beast. I can't tell you that for sure until it actually happens, until we get into the time of the Antichrist, because then we can say absolutely for sure this is what it is, because we'll see it happening.
There's a lot of people out there that are saying it's this, and that, and they're
they're
so
telling you they know
headstrong
it.
on that,
Yeah.
and it's like there's no way you can know what that is.
And that's why I try to be really, really clear about what we can and can't know at this point in time.
Yeah.
So this is a great article for anyone who wants to kind of study that stuff. Just look for that picture on the homepage. But as far as prophecy in the present time and the prophecy of Daniel 2, this is now history, all except the very last part, where Christ returns and smashes the statue on the feet, which is the same as the statement given in Daniel 7, where Christ returns and puts down the governments of men and takes over. Same thing that we see all over Scripture, all over prophecy. When Christ returns, he's going to take over and rule with a rod of iron for 1,000 years. In Daniel 2, it ends at the same place. It started with Nebuchadnezzar, the king. And so we know the empire that's going to rule at the time of Christ, because we can see from history now what it is. And we know the mirrored prophecies that the Bible, that Satan mimicked in Islam. There's certain things that we know for sure about this. And so I'm gonna talk about it a little bit. Now, I do have a 4-part video series that I did a few years ago on this. They're about 20-25 minutes each, that'll go into great detail on this article that we're looking at right now. I'm not going to go into that much detail today. We don't have 2 hours, so I'm gonna breeze through it in about a half an hour, hopefully.
My sissy needs to go to
But
bed.
if you're interested, read the article. It's very long. You can see from the size of the scroll here that it's a very long article. And then, I've got the 4-part video series. Definitely read up. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to summarize it just for the sake of time, because Nebuchadnezzar was the king that Daniel the prophet was serving under. And he was a very high official. Even though he was a slave, he was a very high official in the Babylonian government. And he was a very respected man, because God set him up to be a respected man. And so when the king had this dream, and it was very troublesome, and he didn't know what the dream was about, but he remembered that it really bothered him. So he had all his wizards and magicians and everybody called to try to tell him the interpretation of the dream. And they're all like, well, tell us what the dream was and we'll give you the interpretation. He's like, no, you've got to tell me what the dream was and the interpretation. Well, of course, none of them could do it. So he was going to have them all killed. Well, Daniel was considered part of that like type of person. So he was warned and warned to go. So he went to the king and said, God can interpret your dream. And so God gave him the dream and the interpretation. And the dream was basically this statue. The head of gold was him. And then the arms and chest of silver was the coming Media-Persian Empire. And this is a prophecy from the time of Babylon to the last day when Christ returns. That's what this prophecy is about.
So the head of that statue is that king's head?
That's him. It's
his empire.
It's a symbol of Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian Empire.
Oh, I thought you meant it was. They made
it's not actually him, right? But in the dream that he had this dream of this statue, and he saw this great stone created out of a mountain with no hands. It just formed and smashed the statue on the feet, destroyed it, which is a picture of Christ returning and putting down the governments of men and taking over the world, just as Daniel 7 shows us. And so Daniel was able to interpret the dream for him. And if we go to Daniel and look at that interpretation, wait, where am I? Daniel, chapter 2. And that was his dream. Daniel gave him the dream itself, right? He said, you saw this great image. And the head of gold, breasts and arms of silver, belly and thighs of brass, legs of iron, and then his feet and toes of part iron and part clay. And then a stone that was cut out without hands and smote the image on the feet. So this is mostly history now, because we've had, and then if you look at the interpretation too, a lot of people try to say, and I've been through this many times over the last few weeks, I'm not going to do it again. It's not a parallel prophecy with Daniel 7. It ends at the same place as Daniel 7's prophecy, but it is not parallel. And there's 5 sections. There's the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. There are 5 sections to this statue, not just 4, as people try to say. So
why do they say 4 when it's very explicit?
Because they want it to be the same as the prophecy of Daniel 7, which it's not. It can't be, but they want it to be. Yeah, it's crazy how people will just totally ignore and write off certain parts of Scripture because it doesn't fit with what they want it to be, and then they'll still say that it's true. It's crazy. Yeah. But anyway, so basically, the dream says that from Babylon, then we're going to have the Media-Persian Empire, and then the Greek Empire, and then the Roman Empire. And then when Rome fell apart and broke into the Eastern and Western Roman Empire, the Catholic Church grew within that. And it became the Holy Roman Empire, which existed in parallel with the Islamic Ottoman Empire. So you can see how it all transpired in history, right? Babylon ruled until 539 BC. And then the Medes and the Persians ruled until Alexander the Great in 331 BC. And then the Greek Empire lasted until the Romans defeated them in 197 BC. And then we had the Roman Empire, which lasted about 100 years. But then it decayed from within. It kind of fell apart. Constantine created the Catholic Church in 325 AD to try to glue Rome back together. And he was partially successful. And the Catholic Church grew in power until 800 AD, when the Charlemagne was crowned emperor of the Holy Roman Empire by the reigning Pope. I forget the guy's name, but the Pope at the time crowned Charlemagne emperor of the Holy Roman Empire in 800 AD. We still have, if you remember, I've talked a lot about this. We still have the Holy Roman Empire today. It's just now called the European Union, the EU. It's the same general area as the Holy Roman Empire. And then we still have the Islamic Ottoman Empire in the Arab League today. It's just called the Arab League instead of the Islamic Empire.
American said it's sad how Constantine had his son Crispus killed. Crispus? I can't see.
Crispus.
Yeah, he had him killed.
I remember something about that. I don't remember the details.
It's so funny how women don't talk about the Roman Empire and stuff like that. That's a guy
men seem
thing.
to be enthralled with it.
I'm not into that.
I know. And I know a lot about
this
it.
Is the part where I'm so vague on. I just...
But I find it very fascinating.
Because you're a guy.
Because of prophecy. Because the Bible actually prophesied of the Roman Empire before it even happened. And then the subsequent splintering and the language used is that the kingdom is divided and partly strong and partly broken, because it's talking about two kingdoms that rule the same general area. Because this whole area around the Mediterranean Sea was the Roman Empire. Well, now it's two empires ruling the same area, partly strong, partly broken, divided, doesn't mix. A lot of people say it's the Eastern and Western parts of the Roman Empire, but why would it be so unable to mix at all if it was still the Roman Empire? And why wouldn't it just be a continuation of the iron, instead of it being mingled with clay that doesn't mix together and is broken and divided? So it doesn't make sense at all that it's just a continuation of the Roman Empire. It's a partial continuation, which is shown in the iron, but it's a mingling of the clay, which is the other component, which is the Islamic Empire, which is, today, both of those still exist. And when we look at all of the other prophecies and we look at how it's all almost certainly going to play out in the end time, is that, there's this idea of interfaithism. The whole world is trying to say that everybody worships the same God, except Muslims, because their God, Allah, is the greatest, right? They don't believe that we all worship the same God. They think we are all worshiping false gods, and their God is the true God, even though Satan has set them up for utter failure, as we've talked about many times.
So American said Constantine had married another woman who wanted his inheritance. So she told Constantine that Crispus had assaulted her. That's kind of like, I said, thank you for sharing that information. That's like, who in the Bible, who was it that, who in the Bible, remember she told her husband that.
Oh, you're talking about Joseph and Potiphar's wife.
Yeah, that reminds me of what happened.
She tried to get him to sleep with her, and when he wouldn't, she said he raped her, or tried to rape her. Yeah.
Yeah, but he slipped out of his coat.
He ran, and he slipped out of his coat to get away from her.
And she was left hanging.
So she's like, "See, I have his coat." And,
but he just wiggled right out of it and ran.
Yeah. So this is the main theme of this. I mean, this is the theme of this prophecy, is that this is going to be and they're successive kingdoms. They're one after the other. It specifically says it in the prophecy that another will inferior to thee will come after you, is what he said about Nebuchadnezzar. After you will be another empire. And so these are all successive empires. And like I said, all we have to do is look at history now, because we know that this empire is what's going to be in power when Christ returns.
And that's the end.
That's the prophecy. That's what it shows us in the end, when the stone smashes it and breaks it into pieces. That's Christ returning, putting down the governments of men and taking over the world. Same as the end of Daniel 7 when Christ returns and takes over the world. Same as we see in Revelation. The Battle of Armageddon at the end of God's wrath when Christ returns, and in chapter 19 actually shows us all he does is speak a word and defeats the armies.
Yeah.
This is all the same thing. This is all the same event, the coming of the Lord. Because even, the book of Revelation is the revelation of Jesus Christ. The entire book of Revelation is about the revealing of Christ to the world and his return, his coming, which is, it's a revelation of the identity of Christ, that he is God manifest in the flesh. God became a man, became flesh by being born into his own creation. And it's that revelation to the world that the entire Bible really is all about, because this was God's plan from the beginning. This is why he created everything. This is why it says that it was all made by him and for him, because it was God's plan to become a human being and have a people to live with forever.
Mhm.
That's the entire reason for all of creation.
Yeah.
All of this that's going on right now is to find those that will love God. That's what he's doing right now, is he's grieving at his heart, waiting, saving as many as he can. And he's only going to take those that love him into eternity with him. Why would he want those that don't love him to go
so
into
we
eternity?
do it all over again?
I know, yeah.
No.
So, that's the plan of God. That's the whole reason for this entire existence, is for God to get a people to dwell with forever. And he's going to recreate all of heaven and earth at the end of the 1,000 years and live with us forever.
Ugh.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be no pain, no sorrow, no death, no crying. Yeah. We can't even imagine, but it's literally going to be literal bliss.
Well, we
forever.
won't even have to eat. And I really want to eat.
Well, it doesn't mean we can't eat.
I'm eating then. I'm going to eat a big old juicy hamburger.
Okay.
like, on the beach.
With your glass of wine. Yeah.
American Revelation 4:11. Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created.
Yeah.
I love
it's
that. It's
all
verse.
for God's pleasure.
Yeah, I love that.
Because
verse.
God wanted to do what he's doing. He wants the end result, which is to have a people to dwell with forever.
Yeah.
Friends to spend eternity with. That's what God is doing. And that's what's so awesome about it. And all we have to do is just acknowledge him and believe
Love him.
and love him back for loving us and creating us. It's very simple.
It really is. It's very easy right now.
Yeah.
Should be easy.
It is.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
If you're still alive during.
Well, yeah, in this 1,000-year reign, it's going to be ruling with a rod of iron. And it's not going to be easy then.
If you make it.
If you make it. Yeah.
Right.
So back to this. This is the prophecy that we don't really have to speculate on. We do not have to speculate. Now, the thing that I speculate on is which of these is going to be the ruling power. We know that it's going to be the Roman Catholic Church and the Islamic peoples that are going to make this alliance, which isn't really going to be an alliance. It's going to be a submission of Catholicism to Islam. Because remember, Islam doesn't believe in interfaithism. Interfaithism only goes one way. It's only believed by those that are deceived into thinking that Muslims also worship the same God that Christians do, which is a lie from Satan. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, go into my notes menu on Islam and the Bible, and it will open your eyes. Actually, even on this page, the part we're not going to talk about is about halfway down, where on this page I talk about the exact duplicate prophecies of Satan, where he made these duplicate prophecies to fool Muslims in the last day. When the biblical prophecies come to pass, the Muslims are all going to think it's theirs. And then I talk about this Chrislam, which has come into being, an interfaithism and the prophecies of the Catholic Church, and why Pope Francis thinks he's the final glorious Pope. And he thinks he's actually going to do these things that were prophesied in the Catholic Church. But remember, those prophecies in the Catholic Church are lies from Satan, just like the prophecies in Islam. He set them up to be exactly like the prophecies of the Bible, except the exact opposite. So their good guys are the Antichrist and the false prophet of the Bible, the bad guys. So that's on this page too. I have it in a couple of places because it's so important that people understand this. But this is the prophecy from the time of Babylon to the return of Christ. That last ruling empire is going to be the Islamic Holy Roman empires, which are now the EU and the Arab League. And the EU literally is controlled by the Catholic Church. If you don't know that, the European countries are all Catholic. The Catholic Church is very much in control of everything in Europe. And so it's going to be a reemergence of the power of those two entities in the last day. Why do we know that? We know that because that's what God said. We don't have to speculate. We know that it's going to be the Holy Roman Islamic Empire reemerge in the last days to be a world power. The Antichrist is going to use that union, which, like I said, will not be a union. It will be a submission of Catholicism to Islam. And that will be his one world religion, the religious component of his world dictatorship. So remember, it's Daniel 7. The 13 nations of Daniel 7 become one in Revelation 13 that he uses as his political and military power base. Well, this is the religious component. It's going to be this union of Catholicism and Islam, but it will be a Islamic religion. And he's going to change the laws. He's going to implement Sharia law. He's going to, it's basically going to be Islam ruling the world through the Antichrist. So now that is speculative. I can't tell you absolute certainty that Antichrist will be a Muslim. I've got a video I just did recently on why we know the Antichrist will be a Muslim, but I don't tell you that I know this to be a fact. Because even though I don't see how it's even at all possible, Islam could somehow submit to Catholicism.
Nah.
I don't see that ever happening.
I don't see that.
And it could be the Catholic Church that's the leader. And the Pope could be the Antichrist. No.
I don't
Pope,
think so.
the Pope is going to be the false prophet.
Well,
that does miracles and supports the Antichrist.
But the Bible talks about who the Antichrist is going to be. He describes him, doesn't give a name. That's not what I'm saying, but he describes him, and that's not the Pope.
Well, and that's the point I make. And it's actually in this article as well, where way down, this is a really, really long article. I talk about who is the great whore. And I talk about how it really is the Catholic Church and the Vatican. And then I talk about, how the Antichrist would be this union of 10 Islamic nations, really. I mean, when you look at the world, I can't tell you that I know this, but I'm telling you that in my own mind, I know this. Yeah. And there is no other way that it fits. But I've got a article or a video here on Catholic Muslims will coexist because it's going to be a submission of Catholicism to Islam. I also have on my homepage, if you go to biblical truth and what is a false religion, if you go to this page, I've got a whole playlist on false religions and what they are. Included in that playlist is why we know the Antichrist is a Muslim, and all of the, why Islam is a false religion and all that. So check that out. This one I have embedded on this page. But then I go into how do we?
Shows you. When you look at that picture, it's like what's going on.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, it's like, hello, wake up.
I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then I go into how to identify the Antichrist, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I have a video, a couple of videos on that as well, where who is the Antichrist, who's the great whore, and the false prophet. Definitely check those out. Check out the videos. Read this article. It's a very, very long article, like I said. But the whole point is that we don't even have to speculate. We know that it's going to be the iron mingled with clay that is in power when Christ returns. We know that for a fact. And we know what it is. It's the EU/Arab League. Well, they're going to join forces through the Catholic Church and Islam. And it's going to be a union to create a one world religion, but it's absolutely impossible for it to not be Islam as the leading role in that. If you know anything about Muslims and what the Catholic Church is saying, the Catholic Church is saying that you can be a Muslim and still be saved. That's the interfaith message. All religions worship the same God. You can be a Muslim, but Muslims do not believe that. Muslims don't believe you can be a Christian and be saved. You've got to convert to Islam or you're not going to be saved.
American said, very strange when they have American death metal bands touring in Iran. Seeing Muslims bow their heads to devil music is quite a sight to see. That doesn't mean...
I agree. That's wow.
That's scary.
That's very scary.
Well, the deception.
The Antichrist and oh my gosh. When he comes into power, that is going to be so scary.
I know.
Well, the whole world is going to be reveling in abandon when this man takes over the world. He's going to come and deceitfully in the name of peace, and he's going to take over the world to bring world peace. And the whole world, remember, it's a quote from scriptures. They shall say peace and safety.
Yeah.
World peace will finally be achieved by this man.
We all know that it's Satan controlling him, and it's like Satan himself.
I know. They won't know it. They'll think that it's a great thing. But
David.
But what did Jesus said? When they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come upon them.
Right.
Hey, David, good to see you, brother.
Yeah, glad you made it.
Yeah.
He said, okay, go. I don't know what that means. He came in.
Okay, go.
He said, okay, go. But I think it's because he probably started the video over.
Yeah. Well, good to see you, brother.
Slayer and Megadeth, I know, have toured there in Iran.
Yeah. And remember, the Iranian peoples, as a whole, Muslims are not, they don't really, a lot of them don't even really believe in their religion.
No.
And there's a lot of Iranians that are, the revolution in Iran, they do not like this because it's a horrible religion, but they can't leave it because their own family will kill them, and that's the whole thing. And that's going to be the religion. I'm telling you. I'm not telling you this is a fact, but I'm telling you that it's going to be a religion of Islam that the Antichrist
Don't
will
listen
rule.
to me, but listen to me.
I believe that. I believe that.
Oh yeah, I do
As
too.
a- If
We've
you
been talking
if you
about
study
it,
it
yeah.
and you look at all of the things, like on this page, I have a lot of the scriptures that tell us how to identify the Antichrist when he comes into power. There's all kinds of scriptures that
Well,
describe
no.
what this man's going to be doing, what he's, how the world's going to see him, and it's going to be a union of Catholicism under Islam. It's going to be a submission of Catholicism to Islam. And
Yeah.
I know this. I
I do
absolutely
too.
know this. And so, like I said, it's a very long article.
Ooh.
But I go through all of this, Daniel 2, talk about, interfaithism and the coming one world religion and Catholicism, and then the false prophecies, the exact duplicate prophecies in Catholicism, how it all ties together, who is the great whore of Revelation 17 and 18. Everything about this entity fits the Vatican to a T. And it's the only entity in the world that fits that. And it even tells us in Revelation that the 10 kings, remember the 10 toes, the 10 horns, the 10 kings, will be 10 Islamic nations that will give their allegiance to the Islamic Mahdi. And those 10 kings will hate the whore because Islam hates Christianity. But they're going to make this alliance in the name of the Mahdi to rule the world, to take over the world. And it's, like I said, it's going to be a submission of Catholicism to Islam, not the other way around. But I go through all of that discussion. I go through how we know this is the entity, the seven, there's just everything fits. And there's, does anyone else see a compass there? That is a picture of a compass.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Vatican. There's the all-seeing eye.
Yeah.
There's the compass. There's the obelisk. Yeah, anyway. Yeah. Yeah, it is. She's the head of the snake.
A lot of cities. I was watching the thing about South Korea. South Korea has an obelisk. There's many different cities that have obelisks.
All over the world, there's obelisks.
Yeah,
DC. That's because the Freemasons have been in power for centuries.
Yes.
And they've migrated all over the globe.
Yeah. It's
And
not a
they've got all
conspiracy
kinds
theory.
of, the secret society is a very real thing. It is not a conspiracy theory.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah. And it's all being coordinated by Satan.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a very long article, but I really encourage you to read it. If you don't like to read such a long article, that's why I've got those videos linked at the top. I've got some videos embedded. I've got them here. I've got other videos on the false prophet and the Antichrist. Please do check them out. And then, how to identify the Antichrist. And then this article actually is an article that shows us 8 reasons why I believe the Antichrist is a Muslim, which is also linked at the bottom of this article. So there's a ton of information for you to look at. I can't believe that anyone who studies this and actually gets their arms around it and gets their head around this and understands it, I can't believe that anyone would not agree with me on my conclusions if you studied it out.
David said Satan hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You know what I don't want to say I can't wait for, but what I'm curious about, so I will be watching for it, is his name being 666. I want to know what that means.
When he comes to power, we'll probably be able to figure out what that means. Yeah. We can't yet. I know there's all kinds of people out there. There's a bunch of YouTubers out there that say they know what it means, but they don't. They do not know.
First of all, we have to know who it is first. Then but if they're saying who it is, they can't know who it is. He hasn't even stood up and taken power yet.
There's nothing wrong with speculating on what it might be.
Have you
Right.
thought about what it could be? Speculating?
Well, so far, everything that people say about it, it's like, nah, we've got it. It's going to become apparent when the Antichrist
so
is
you
in
can't
power.
even take a wild guess?
I'm not going to say. No. I don't.
Wow.
I don't think it's anything that we can see yet.
Oh.
I think we'll see it when he takes power, and we'll know what it means. Everyone's
Yeah.
going to have a number. Everyone's going to have a barcode. It's going to be a chip or a tattoo. It's going to be the mark of the beast. It's going to come with an oath
Maybe
to
that's what
swear
his is.
fealty or swear your allegiance to his new world order or become a Muslim, one or the other. It's going to be, it's the number. You can swear to his name that you will serve him. That's what Revelation 13 tells us is you're going to have to submit to this man.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a mark. You won't get your mark unless you submit to him. If you won't be able to buy or sell, save you have the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name.
There you
So
go.
that number is going to be something that we'll be able to identify.
Maybe he'll stand up and say, this is the number that you need to have. But that would be so coincidental that it would match the Bible so much.
People are so under the grand delusion that they won't believe it's the Bible. It won't even matter that you can show them. They won't believe it. Yeah.
See, I'm wondering if it doesn't end up just being that simple, that he says, this is my mark and you must have it.
Well, you're going to have that mark.
I'm saying that mark, 666.
Yeah. And
that's
people,
what I'm saying.
One of the things that people say is that
AI
if you look at the way Allah is written out in Arabic, it kind of looks like it could, if you really, really imagine, if you use your imagination, it could maybe look like a 666.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't really, but it kind of does. But people say that it's going to be Islam. So Allah will be who we're supposed to be worshiping then. But we see here that we're actually going to be caused to worship the Antichrist himself in this. That the world is going to be worshiping this man. Mm-hmm. He's going to claim to be God. Remember 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. He's going to claim to be God. He's going to sit in the temple of God.
Claiming to be God.
Yeah. He's going to sit in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. The world's going to be worshiping him. The false prophet is going to be causing the world to worship him. Yeah. So, and remember from Daniel 11, he doesn't really believe in Islam. He was raised in Islam, and he's going to use Islam as his power base, but he's going to cause the world to worship him.
Yeah, not Allah. Yeah.
So we'll see how that all plays out. He's going to say, now he's not going to denounce Allah, right? He can't do that, or all the Muslims would not accept him as their Mahdi. But he's going to stand himself up as God himself. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that all plays out and how he manages that. But we know he's going to do that because the Bible tells us he's going to do that.
David said AI could be involved.
It could be, yeah.
American said mark in the right hand or so it's on
the right hand of the forehead, exactly.
Yeah, it makes me think a microchip or possibly symbolizing one's thoughts and actions, in my opinion.
And there's people that speculate that, but I really believe it's going to be a tattoo. It's going to be an actual physical mark because they have RFID tattoo ink, and they put that on animals. They put it on some prisoners. They're going to actually give you a tattoo with your RFID, and a chip under the skin, but I believe it's probably going to be a tattoo.
Because you're not
And-
going to be able to take
And
it
people
off.
will get it on their forehead so that they are unmistakably a good little citizen, right?
I think you'll have a
A
choice.
lot of people are going to say, yeah, put it on my forehead so that everybody knows that I'm a good little
Oh.
girl or a good little boy, right? And you're going to have it either on your right hand or your forehead, and that's going to prove your submission to his system.
American said it is in, not on. That's the word, in and not on. Because when he said it, I read it like, maybe it was he was trying to say the mark on the right hand or on the forehead, and he said, no, it is in, not
Receive
on.
a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
Or in.
Yeah. That he might buy it, not buy or sell, save that he had the mark.
That's a good
Now-
point.
Now, but I don't believe that it's just your thoughts, because how would anyone else know? How would anyone else know that you can't buy or sell? Now, if AI is involved and AI is watching everything you do on social media and everything you do on your computer and everything you do on your smartphone, and you have a social credit score, right, which is what they're trying to implement now.
Yeah.
I think that's what you might be kind of implying, is that maybe there's going to be some kind of social credit score, and AI may be involved in creating
David
that
said
score. But maybe that's what
Oh.
Americans talking about when it's, the thoughts, what you actually do. I believe
Oh.
that this is really just literal, that it's actually going to be a mark. It's going to be a mark that they put on you.
But you can do
to
it
show
in your forehead, because it could be like the
Well, and
tattoo
if you think about tattoo ink is actually in your skin. It's not
Mhm.
just on it, it's in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's
Like I
really
always
hard.
say,
Yeah.
like
You
I
don't
always
know.
say, I don't know for sure.
Right.
I'm
Maybe
speculating.
maybe
We
people,
know.
maybe people will be able to either put a tattoo on their forehead or a chip under their skin on their hand.
Yeah, you may be able to do
Yeah,
either.
it might be both,
Yeah.
or.
And-
Yeah, either or.
Yeah,
That's
and
true.
we know that it's going to happen, and we know that there are certain events and certain ways that things are going to play out, but we don't know the details until we
Right.
get there. So we can only speculate, and that's why I say I believe it's probably going to be a tattoo, and it may be, you may be able to choose between a tattoo or a chip under the skin or something, or maybe there's other ways. Who knows? We'll see when we get there.
Mhm.
But maybe even AI will be involved to prove whether or not if AI determines that you're not socially acceptable, then they may come, barge in your door, kick down your door, and arrest you and take you to prove that you're a good little citizen. That's going to be the nature of this regime that's going to control the world in that day.
But what I'm wondering is, are they going to be able to force people to do that?
Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do.
Because if you're a Christian, you can't do that.
Right.
Or
And
if
that's
they
why
force
a lot
you
of
to.
Christians will be martyred in those days. Yes.
Because he'll refuse.
Yeah. We cannot take that mark, or we
That's
will be
why
down.
what I'm saying is, what if they hold you down and put it on you?
Well, it's going to come with an oath or some kind of denouncing of Christ. It's not going to be something they can force on you without it won't be damning unless you let them do it and abide by it.
But I have this to say. Oh, yeah. Yeah. American said comply or die.
Right.
However, I have this to say. Just remember that even if they think they can try, God knows you.
Yeah.
And
Right.
God knows if you intend to say no. Like if they try, they got all these Christians and they're like, you got to take this mark, and they try to give you the mark, and you just cry out to Jesus and say, no, I believe in Jesus. I don't
Yeah.
think that God will allow that
Well,
to happen.
And this is
Yeah,
why
me too.
this is why it's so important for us to seek the Holy Spirit
Yes.
in everything we do today.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to wait until that day comes to get serious about God. You want to be
Yeah,
full of the
because-
Spirit, walking in the Spirit, living 100% of your life for God before that day comes. And then
Yeah.
God will certainly give you everything needed to withstand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The
because there's
pressure,
gonna there's gonna be people that are gonna get through all this
Amen.
terrible stuff that's happening, and right at that moment they're gonna be so afraid they're gonna take it.
Oh, they
Yeah.
may give in.
And there's a lot
Yeah.
of,
You're right.
I call fake Christians, right? The churchianity people there that are out there that think we're going to be raptured out. We don't need to worry about any of this stuff. When that day comes, they're going to fail utterly.
Right.
They need to be reading their Bible and learning the truth and getting serious about God.
Stop
now.
kidding themselves. You got to stop kidding yourself. It's not going to be what you think it's going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really bad.
And you don't need to be doing it alone. American said, I'll get beheaded probably.
Yeah.
Me
Well,
too.
remember, that's what it
It's gonna
says.
be-
It says the they that are beheaded, chapter 20. They that are beheaded for the witness of Jesus. And this is another reason why it's pretty obvious it's going to be Islam, because this is how Islam executes people that
Yeah.
refuse to be a Muslim. They behead them.
Yeah. He said, let me finish this. He said, I'll get beheaded probably. Yeah, it'll be me too. Trust me. It's going to be hard watching family and friends turn away from the faith, though, to receive the mark. I know. David said they will hold our friends and families over our heads. Yes, they will.
Yeah. And Jesus said that your own family would be the ones that turn you in. So that's why it's really important to, if there's any way to do this, we want to be off grid, and we don't want to be in association with anyone who
doesn't love God,
a true Christian that doesn't love God, or they will turn us in.
They will. And it's really sad. I mean, I can't even imagine David's, I read that. I can't even imagine. I mean, you think that your family members just love you so much, but if they don't love God at that time, they will turn you in. If God said it in his word, he meant it, and we need to believe it.
And I like to use the last 4 years as an example of that. When we look at how this whole COVID and vaccine thing caused so much division in families, those that refused to comply were ostracized and hated by the other members of families. And this is a very good prelude example of what it's going to be like when the Antichrist takes over. It's going to be the same thing. If you don't comply, you're going to be hated and ostracized and turned in, and it's going to be worse, though. Much worse.
And Jay said, that's an interesting thought. Maybe it's something more than a tattoo, because what if an evil guy makes a Christian unconscious and puts the mark on them? So maybe it has some spiritual component, right? Where the person has to consciously agree to it.
Yes, it will be. There's no way that you can be forced into doing this against your will.
Right.
You're going to have to make an oath of submission to the Antichrist and his system in order to get your mark. They're not going to be able to just knock you out and give you the mark.
Right. And I still go back to the fact that God knows you. If you really, really love him and you're living your life serving him in that day, if they come to put it on me, God already knows my heart. He already knows that I love him. I can't even imagine that he says, whoopsie daisy, I guess you're.
No, that's not going to happen. If you love God and you're serving him with all your heart, then there's no way that he's going to abandon you
Right,
your
in that
time of
moment.
need.
Right, that's what I say.
Yeah. No.
American says you have children but won't feed them by simply receiving the mark of the beast. You're a bad parent, they'll say. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll blame you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I agree with you. I kind of feel like we're going to have people who are going to be in resistance, just like they helped there were Nazis or there were Germans that were helping the Jews, hiding them
there
out,
was the
giving them
Underground
food,
Railroad,
the
basically.
underground that will be helping
it
us.
was for the Jews in Germany and across the world. And then, slavery had an Underground Railroad. There's always going to be those that will assist. And God uses ungodly people to
Yes,
help
he
his
does.
people all throughout the
Oh,
Bible.
He sure does.
So remember that.
They'll take your kids. Yeah, they will.
Yeah, they'll take your kids. They'll put you in jail.
They'll threaten
kill you.
Holy cow, she's in the dark.
Yeah. They will. They'll use everything they can against you to
Ooh.
try to force you to comply. That's why
Yeah.
it's so important to be ready now. We
Mhm.
need to be walking in the Spirit, praying without ceasing, inviting God into every moment of our lives, serving
Yes.
Him, not serving the world, not serving the creature, not serving our worldly desires, serving God. That's what we need to be doing, seeking His Spirit. That none of this world matters at all.
No.
The only thing that matters is that we make it out getting to be with Him in the end. Otherwise, we're going to die.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We can't take any of it with us. None of this world matters. Success in this world is nothing but temptation anyway. It's pride and
Right.
temptation. And why would you want that?
Right.
We should be seeking God and things of God. Period.
Yeah. Putting him before everything.
And
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So let's pray and we'll say goodbye. I know we went 2 hours again. This time I actually said it was going to be 2 hours when I created the last
Yeah,
one.
see, you just got to be honest with everybody.
So thank you, Lord, for giving us all this information so we can be ready when it happens.
Mhm.
You told us to watch and be prepared, and you told us exactly what we need to know. Help us, Lord, to seek you, to serve you, to invite you into every moment of our lives, Lord, and fill us with your Spirit, Lord.
Mhm.
In the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so David, American, Jay, Catman, and Sheila.
Hmm.
We love
Thanks
you
all for
guys.
being in chat, and everybody
Yeah.
that watches and does not join chat. That's okay. We
Yeah,
love you too.
Oh yeah, Sachiko and Adam are watching later.
Yeah.
But please keep them in your prayers because they are in Poland.
Yeah.
So please
Yeah.
remember
Right
them in your
there on the
prayers that
border.
God will
Yeah.
protect them and give them knowledge and wisdom on what to do.
God to keep His angels around them.
Right.
And shield them.
Also, I feel like I need to say this because because I know I'm working on things too. The time is coming very, very soon. And we know this. We just know this. I feel like as Christians, we need to be spending our time praying that whatever is going on with us will be brought to the surface. So whatever we need to work on, like I have my own things that I'm trying to work on. It's hard because we're human, but I want to be beneficial.
Pray for God to reveal those and cleanse us of those things.
I want to be beneficial during that time and not a burden to the people around me. We have to, because I know that everybody has their the worldly term is the skeletons in the closet. We all have our thing that we need to work on, whether it's a character deflaw or our character flaw, or just things that are keeping us from being who we need to be in God, in the Lord.
spiritually.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
spiritually.
that's the thing is, in the end, you don't want to be a burden. You want to be one of the people helping.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
want to be the people that understand and that are
Yeah.
instructing and helping
Right.
other people in those
Mhm.
days. You don't want to be a burden.
And I had to say, I pray that I have to pray that because I'm human. I'm just human, and I have to pray, Lord, if there's anything that is going to get in the way from serving you, not just today, but in the future during that time, please reveal it. Please bring it to the surface so that I know what it is and I can work on it and I can keep, we have to constantly be working on things. We can't just figure we're just already there. Oh, we'll handle it when it gets here. I don't believe that. You
No,
say
you need
that
to be
every single
prepared.
Bible study. We have to get ready now.
Right.
So we'll just pray for each other. We'll pray for each
Some
other.
things,
Yeah, that's what we should do.
take time to learn. I mean, especially if it's a character flaw or whatnot. It's going to take some time for you to change that part of yourself.
Right.
It's not something you can just
Right.
go, well, when they come to kill me because I'm a Christian, then I'll be totally different. No, you won't.
Yeah.
And you need to be working on it now. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a very good point.
Yeah. Yeah. My thing is like freaking out. I don't want to freak out. I don't want something to happen and go, I don't know how to, and I have to
be there.
You
have me though.
To calm me down. Yeah. Well, you might be in the other room helping other people to calm down.
Yeah.
But
And
I mean, that's my thing. So
and that's a really good point. And that goes right along with, we need to be getting ready now. We need to be walking in the Spirit. We need to let God cleanse us of all of those things and get us to a point where we can be useful to Him.
Right.
In those days.
Yeah, because
I pray about that every day. Prepare us all that truly love you, the true Christians. Prepare us now so that we can be useful to you.
Yeah.
We can see you come from the clouds.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, because if we're not ready, I'm going to have, if somebody next to me's, if I've been working on staying calm and somebody next to me is freaking out, I'm just going to turn around and go, wait, stop. Stop, or go in the other room and freak out. I have to be calm right now. Don't make me do that.
Don't make her smack you.
Yeah. Don't make me smack you.
Tell the person, here, honey, why don't you go in this room? And then you close the door and walk away.
Okay, I'll work on that. I will work on that. I'm practicing on Duke.
We're all human. And it's hard sometimes, especially when emotions are running high. It's hard to just be calm and cool and collected.
Yeah.
And be the one that's just doing what needs to be done when everybody else is freaking out. But God will be with us.
Yeah.
God will be the one that gives us that peace and that control and that strength and that courage, and He will give us everything if we just submit to Him. Let go of everything you think you know and want and desire and are, and your pride and everything, and humble yourself before God. And then He will lift you up. That's what He says.
Yeah.
American says, smack him, then tell him to turn the other cheek for another.
Would you turn the other cheek for me?
No. I think I'm going to try that. I'm going to practice on Duke.
No, you're not going to hit my dog. No.
He's the one who's freaking out. Duke is the one who's freaking
he's
out.
really
Let me tell
anxiety
you.
dog.
Yeah, he's the one.
It doesn't take anything to get him just freaking out completely. Yeah.
I love
practice on him.
I love him. I love Duke. But anyway, so would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, go to Rumble, follow us on Rumble. And then share this video with your friends and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss any great videos. Always something in the works, always something going up every single day. And then make sure you share the video somewhere. You have somewhere to share it. I share it. I share it on my Facebook. A little old Facebook. Sissy, would you like to do your thing? I can't hardly see you. I love hanging out with you. Yeah, we you know what, David, we kind of missed you a little bit. I mean, you haven't been around that much because you've been working, and that's okay, but we miss you too. So he says, I love hanging out with you guys. Yeah, I know.
I love all my brothers.
Yes. I love everybody who's watching right now. We love Jay. Jay, we love you. Marigun, he's my bud now because he's always chatting with me.
And where's Bob? Where you at?
Yeah. Sheila, we love
Maybe
you. Sheila is over. I don't know if she's still hanging out with us, but she's over there. She's the lone.
On Facebook.
Yeah, she's the lone.
It's all right. We're still on Facebook for now.
Yeah, anyway, so she's going to do her little spiel for right now.
Okay, everyone, if you want the truth and nothing but the truth, you're going to find it here on BibleProphecyandTruth.com.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or comments for Dan, go ahead and send him an email at prophecyandtruth@gmail.com.
Come on. You don't need to laugh right now.
You can find some great and interesting content on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/prophecyandtruth.
She knows I was going to laugh.
I need a friend.
What's the other thing that you were supposed to say?
Rumble.com/BibleProphecy.
You can see our live stream right here on YouTube. Or you can go on over to rumble.com/BibleProphecy. Also, Dan has a new site called videos.prophecyandtruth.com.
Oh.
And say hello to my little friend.
Thank you, Diane.
Jay said, yeah, he's still here. He's just drying up the little guy. Oh, give him a kiss and a hug from his aunties, okay? He said, thank you for the message, guys. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your week. We will see everybody on Sunday. And if you're not here, you better have a good excuse.
Or be square.
Yeah, be there. Be square.
God bless
love you, everybody. We're getting off right now. Sissy, I love you. I'll send you your prayer tomorrow. Sachiko, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Love you.
Love you.